The day after I arrived to Santiago de Compostela, this is what it looked like in the morning at 7 a.m. And here the sun at 9 a.m. is the shadow of the church over the city hall. And here it is in the evening of that day. These were days of preparation. You can see not too many people yet, but here's the evening of the vigil of the Feast of St. James, the Apostle, as the people are gathering. This video is dedicated to the light and fireworks show, and these people that are gathered here, we're getting ready for an amazing spectacle, way of celebrating the gift of the finding of the bones of the remains of St. James the Apostle. He was, of course, the son of Zebedee, the brother of John the Evangelist, fisherman from the Sea of Galilee, witnesses of Jesus' transfiguration on Mount Tabor, sleeping when Jesus was in the great agony in the Garden of Gethsemane on the Mountain of Olives across the Kedron Valley on the east side of Jerusalem, blood brothers to each other, spiritual brothers and fathers to us all, apostles and missionary disciples of our Lord Jesus, who is the Christ, the Messiah, the anointed and the Holy One of God. This is the way they're doing the preparations here, checking out the sound system, making sure everything's working right. And this is the eve of his great feast, This is July 24th. There, the camera, the boom is getting ready to record the show itself. Here are the people gathering. This was on the 24th in the evening. At the end of this video, I'll share with you a little bit of the legend that you're about to see that's portrayed in the light and fireworks show. The story of how the body of St. James was brought over from the Holy Land, where he had been beheaded, according to tradition, and then brought back here to Spain, to where he had preached. This is where he shared the good news. 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. So here's the body of Santiago being brought over from the Holy Land to Galicia, this part of what is now Spain. Here the body is brought into a harbor in the north of Galicia. And then after about 800 years, a shepherd, in the year 1813, the light of a bright star guided a shepherd who was watching his flock at night to the burial site in Santiago de Compostela. The shepherd quickly reported his discovery to the Bishop of Iria, Bishop Teodomiro. The bishop declared that the remains were those of the Apostle James and immediately notified King Alfonso II in Oviedo. To honor St. James, the cathedral was built on the spot where his remains were said to have been found. The legend, which included numerous miraculous events, enabled the Catholic faithful to bolster support for their stronghold in northern Spain, especially during the Christian Crusades against the Moors, but of course it also naturally led to the reconstruction, growth, and development of the city. And there's Santiago de Compostela, the statue, the Porto de Gloria, the great facade, the earliest, built in about the 12th century. So since the 9th century, pilgrimages began and started. And here's the Camino. Using the theme of stars and connecting them in constellations, this is a section of the light show that's speaking about the caminos, the paths that are written in the stars, so to speak, for us, but that are here. There's 8 major, some say 12 major caminos that lead here to Compostela of different pilgrims. just saw was an enactment of what happened in the year 997. Santiago de Compostela was assaulted and partially destroyed by Ibn Abi Aymir, known as Al-Mansur, an Andalusian leader who was also accompanied in his raid by Christian lords. They all received a share of the booty, but since the commander from Andalusia showed no interest in the alleged relics of St. James, the bishop at the time, Cresconio, in the mid-11th century, fortified the entire town, building walls and defensive towers, so that by the middle years of the 11th century, the site had already become a pan-European place of pilgrimage. People coming not only from around today's Spain, but from all parts of different areas of Europe. In the course of the following century, Santiago would become a main Catholic shrine second only to Rome and Jerusalem. So after the Reconstruction, of course, period, there's a fiesta period, a time of rejoicing, as the Camino became more and more a place of many, many people coming in pilgrimage, those looking for miracles, looking for healing. One of the buildings in this particular plaza, do Obradoiro, on the north side, as a matter of fact, to the right of this building, which is the City Hall, was built as a hospice, kind of like what it kind of sounds like, a hospital, especially for those pilgrims that were weak and sick and had arrived, a place to recuperate and thank God for their arrival, and then be close to this place and seek what their pilgrimage sought: some healing, physical, many times emotional, psychological, spiritual. Originally a pilgrim's hospice, founded in 1492 by the Catholic monarchs Isabel of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon. It served both for pilgrims to stay after their month-long pilgrimages, but also intended to have the hospital aspects of a hospice, since so many pilgrims came not only exhausted, but many times weak, fragile, and at times sick. Embracing the Apostle St. James was a spiritual as well as a bodily comfort for people of faith. And as Jesus says so often, your faith has saved you. coming close to now midnight. This is close to midnight. The celebration, the midnight between the day of July 24th to July 25th, the feast day of St. James the Apostle of Santiago de Compostela. I'm so grateful that I rearranged my Camino walk to be able to experience this, which I believe for me was a once-in-a-lifetime celebration. And what you're seeing here is just a recording. Unprofessional, my recording through my phone, but it's absolutely nothing like being there live for the event with so many people around you and these actual lights and sounds rocking and physically vibrating your very body and soul. July 25th at midnight, the beginning of the feast day of St. James the Apostle. So as these people are heading back, it's wonderful to see so many people. This is quite an amazing way to celebrate, to inaugurate an annual feast of St. James, a fisherman from Galilee, chosen by Jesus to spread the good news throughout the world. And so Santiago de Compostela, the city itself, has its origin in the shrine of St. James the Great. It's now the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, which is the final destination of the Camino, the Way of St. James. Actually, there's many roads. I had taken the Camino del Norte, the northern route, Camino Francés, the one that goes through the upper central part of Spain, from France, is the more common one. That's the one that's usually called the Way of St. James, the Camino de Santiago. It's been a leading Catholic pilgrimage route since the 9th century. The destination point of every pilgrim to Santiago is this holy place, the point where all the caminos merge, the Plaza de Obradero, the plaza of the workshop, in front of the beautiful facade of the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela, the cathedral church where the remains of St. James are located and buried. According to legend, Compostela derives from the Latin Campus Stellae, field of the star. Other etymologies of the word derive from the name from Latin compositum, a local vulgar Latin composita tela, meaning a burial ground. So both work. According to medieval legend, the remains of the Apostle James were brought to Galicia for burial, since much of his missionary apostolic work happened in that part of today's Spain. And as I said, in the year 813, there was a light of a bright star that guided a shepherd who was watching his flock at night to this burial site in Santiago now de Compostela. Across the facade of the Cathedral Church of Santiago is the elegant 18th century Paso de Rajoy. It's now the City Hall. That was the backdrop and the screen for this half-hour light and fireworks show you just saw, displayed on the vigil of the great annual feast of St. James the Apostle. The show started about 11:35 p.m. on Tuesday, July 24th, and carried over midnight, concluding about 3 minutes right after midnight on the great annual feast of the day of Santiago de Compostela, St. James the Apostle, on Wednesday, July 25th, 2018. In 1884, a document of Pope Leo XIII, Omnipotens Deus, accepted the authenticity of the relics at Compostela, although the complete veracity and authenticity lacks a solid, continuous historical record. Nevertheless, the Vatican, without making a definitive declaration, continues to promote the more general benefits of pilgrimage to the site. For example, not too long ago, in the year 2010, Pope Benedict XVI undertook a ceremonial pilgrimage to the site on his visit to Spain, as had St. John Paul II before him. And here's the plaza at the end. There was the light box, and then the people celebrating the Apostolo, the great Saint James the Apostle. I'll conclude with the people celebrating in the streets.